next time. Item number 6, authorization to amend the consultant contract with Zumwalt Engineering Group to an amount not to exceed $400,000. Turn this item over to Assistant City Manager Ron Bernal.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is a request that the City Council increase Zumwalt Engineering Group's existing $100,000 contract by $300,000 to a total amount not to exceed $400,000. Zumwalt Engineering Group has provided engineering and plan check services for the City of Antioch for the past 20 years. They're very familiar with Antioch's codes and regulations and requirements when it comes to development and plan checking and providing those services and assistance. With the retirement of our associate civil engineer at the end of the year, it created a gap in our ability to provide plan checking services for specifically for items related to planning applications that have a specific time frame that the projects need to be approved by. And so being that we need additional help, we believe that Zumwalt Engineering Firm is the best company led by Jim Zumwalt to provide those services while we're recruiting for another engineer to replace the retired employee. We are in the process of actively making that recruitment as we speak right now. So we expect that this service will be necessary related to filling for this person for probably 3 to 4 months. And so with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions, but request that Council approve this contract increase.
Item is before Council. Do we have any questions, comments? Councilmember Thorpe.
So you said for 3 to 4 months?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So how long does it, I'm sorry, I'm just, someone had announced that they were going to retire. I'm assuming there was some lead time to that. And so I'm confused as to why maybe the process didn't start at that time.
So we have funded positions in the city, and until that position formally leaves, we don't begin the recruitment. And so this person announced their retirement in October. We anticipated recruiting it as quickly as possible, and actually with the number of recruitments and vacancies that we have, getting this one to the top of the list and having it out on the street within the month of January is actually, I think, really doing well for our HR department, who has, as we've heard earlier, a lot of police recruitments and other things. So the process then, I'm estimating 3 to 4 months to go through the recruitment process and hopefully get somebody on board. The reason that the contract, we're requesting extension of $300,000 is, in addition to the planning projects, Zumwalt will also be doing a large plan check on a subdivision, which is a big chunk of this money. And then any projects that they have in the queue that they begin, I would expect them just to continue and finish them while the new person comes on board and transitions in.
And you anticipate the cost over the next, how long is, adding $300,000, how long does that, do we expect them to be working for us with that contract?
Well, I'm expecting them to be working for in this specific area for, say, 6 months or so, probably between the projects they're going to be starting and finishing up. And so this was the estimate based upon the number of planning projects that they're going to get started on immediately. There's a list in the queue that they're going to have to get started on. Actually, we're meeting with them tomorrow to get them going on it. So this was just an estimate, but we'll find out as we go along. We think we didn't want to come back to council again and ask for more money, and these are also not going to cost the general fund any money. These are being paid for by this work is being paid for by the applicants.
With that, had we not had the retirement of this $300,000, how much do you think would have been needed from being short-staffed? Or would one person have been able to handle these on their own?
In speaking with the planning department, I believe in Forrest Debs is no longer here. He spoke with me about the need for some additional staffing if we could get it on board because of the number of projects that are in the pipeline and the two engineers that we have currently that do a lot of other things besides plan checking. So he actually had come to me, and regardless of this vacancy, was asking me if I could bring on some additional help in the short term until they could get through this slug of permits that are coming in.
I guess
I just had one.
my final question would just be if we had been able to hire and taken that 300,000 and put it towards our own staff, I mean, it looks like that would have paid for probably 1.5 staff members.
So when a staff member works on a project, they bill their time out on a direct billing basis. So this consultant's only going to be working on planning projects. The staff engineer would be working on these plus other things. So it isn't directly dollar for dollar. We could hire a person and a half. It's a matter of meeting a need that's current, and then as with the new person coming on board, and as the workload, depending on how it ends up, being able to phase out Zumwalt, and that person would take on the full-time responsibility along with the other engineer.
Councilmember Thorpe.
So is this an arbitrary number that we're looking at here, or perhaps was there no conversation first about estimates and then bringing those estimates back to City Council?
So this was, we gave a list of the projects that we have. Planning has given us to Zumwalt, and this is the number that Zumwalt came up with based upon their limited understanding, because they didn't have, whether it's a shopping center or this permit or that permit, they didn't have total information. So they based it upon their years of experience working for Antioch. Jim Zumwalt's been the city engineer for Dublin, for Martinez. So based upon his experience working in public agencies, that was the number we came up with.
So it's a rough estimate.
It's a rough estimate, and of that amount, 115,000 of it is for a residential subdivision plan check that Aviano, the Aviano project wants to start on phase 2 of. So this was this part of that $300,000 includes the $100,000.
So if maybe it's his question back to the mayor's questions backwards, where if we were looking at this just to supplement the person who retired and not looking into the other things that you described, what would this number look like?
If we were looking to supplement this number would look like $125,000.
Okay.
An additional $125,000. In addition to, so we're requesting 300,000. We would be requesting 125,000.
Right. Yeah.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that it's recommended the City Council adopt the resolution to amend the consultant contract with Zumwalt Engineering Group, increasing the contract by $300,000 to an amount not to exceed $400,000.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Councilmember Tiscarino seconds. Do we have discussion?
Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm seconding it on my understanding that we're asking for a certain amount of money, but it's not really in theory no cost to the city, right? It's just
Correct. This is at no cost to the city general fund. Yeah. This is being paid for by developers and applicants.
And we want to continue to have that service available and to continue our business process.
That is correct.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm seconding it. Thank you.
As we bring in the new person, they might be able to take some of this on, so that the contract is up to $400,000. So as that other person comes on, they may be able to take on some of this work. Is that?
That's correct. When we bring a new person on, our intent is to maximize their ability to process projects, especially new developments where we can charge their time against the project or against a development. So yeah, we have every intention to maximize our new employee and not to have a contractor doing any of the work that our own employees should be doing. This is strictly to supplement our current staffing in order to keep projects moving forward in this economy.
Any further discussion? We have a
So
Councilmember Thorpe.
so that I'm clear. So outside of the 125 to supplement staffing, we would still be going. We would still be asked to do this, assuming no one had retired.
Yes, I would still be coming to you and ask for this additional money, but not the 300. It'd be more in the 125 range.
I just want to add a little bit. What our plan is to do with using Zumwalt, similar to what planning does for new development, is when a new development comes in, we go over exactly what Zumwalt will be doing, and we get a proposal from him for that amount of work, which is run by the developer. We get a deposit from the developer, and we, in effect, sign a contract with Zumwalt or an addendum for that work. So it's not like he gets an open-ended $400,000 contract. So it's each development comes in, he will get an addendum for that specific job, and then when the next one comes in, while we're short of staff, he'll get one for that. So it's up to $400,000. We're not just giving him a blank check for that amount of money. It will be as needed. And right now, even when we were fully staffed, by state law, a licensed land surveyor needs to review all final maps, and he's been doing that work for us. So even regardless of any of the high demand on engineering review and the high demand because we have a vacancy, we would need Zumwalt on board for doing the land surveying work, which we anticipate will go up, which would be part of why Ron would be requesting an addendum to his contract, because we're just going to have a large workload with that kind of work.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, I will call for a vote.
There are 4 affirmative votes with Mayor Pro Tem Thorpe voting no.
Item number 6 passes.